All right, so we're doing that. So we're on YouTube. I'll wait till the song pops up so it doesn't ruin the rather.
You froze. You just froze.
Do we?
Yeah.
Froze?
You froze.
No, I'm back. I'm moving.
You're back.
All right, hold on. Here we go.
We're live.
Hey, everybody. This is Dr. Kevin McGovern from Perfect Motion Sports Therapy in Acton, Massachusetts. And today, it's another version of the Prove It Live podcast, number 71 for those playing at home. I don't know any famous 71s, but maybe we can look that up. But without further ado, isn't that Light 71? I'm going to introduce you to my very handsome co-host, Mr. Mike Frary from the Farm Baseball Performance Institute. Michael.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for the once again accurate and kind description. I am Mike Frary from the Farm Baseball Performance Institute, along with Kevin McGovern here of Perfect Motion Sports Therapy. Dr. Kevin McGovern. We are Sans, our producer, Ryan Gagne-Fructis. People might be wondering where he's been. He's got so much going on.
Last scene at a Golden Corral.
Golden Corral, and
that's what I'm getting. That's some of the tips that have come in.
That's true, and that was, by the way, that was right after. That was like a post-game meal, playing in his over 38. 38 years old, over 38 plus 275.
I was going to say that was the next thing I was going to say. There has to be a weight limit on that.
Where he is currently 1 for 6 on the season.
Oh, all right, that's good. Yeah. That's good.
So we got a good show today.
We got stuff.
Fun one. This is a fun one.
Yeah, we got some good stuff today. All right, what do we got first?
Well, we want to keep it educational. We're going to break down some video. We're going to talk about the main topic. Really is going to be the elements of the key elements, like a youth swing, which is the kids aren't going to have phenomenal, perfect, mechanically sound swings. So what should be of major importance? What should you want to get nailed down first? What should, in order to have a successful youth swing, what does that look like? So we're going to get into that, but before we do, I'm going to start with your world, Kevin. The
my
PGA,
world, yeah,
the I almost said sport. The game of golf.
The game of the golf. For those who are listening, so we've had a pretty big issue in where there has been a rival, like there has been in football over the past few years. There's now a rival golf league called the LIV or LIL or whatever it's called. It doesn't really matter. The controversy of it is that it is funded in part by the Saudi royal family. And that has caused all kinds of issues. I'm sure people know Phil Mickelson. He's, a big proponent of this. He's been kind of canceled recently because, obviously.
Yeah, what happened with him?
Well, it's this whole Saudi thing. He had said, that obviously they've been linked to atrocities, but, as Americans, we're doing business with Saudi Arabia every day. So it's kind of like, what is it? If, you can't fault them for that. Like, what is it? If we're against them, then we're against them, all of them, right? We can't just be half on and half off. And now, of course, our president's going over there, in a week or so to beg for oil. So whatever it is, and then another very prominent retired golfer by the name of Greg Norman, the Great White Shark. He is like the head guy. And these guys have offered some huge money. So for those people who don't know, like golf, like tennis, there is no basic salary. It's you kind of eat what you kill. And if you don't make the cut or you don't get paid, and you have expenses. You've got travel expenses, you've got caddy expenses, you've got all that kind of stuff. So some guys have defected over. I think there were 17 of them. So I believe as soon as that tournament started, which was today, I believe the PGA Tour immediately came out with these 17 guys are suspended. Like they can't go to a PGA Tour event. We have a big event here next week, the United States Golf Open, which is played at the world famous Brookline Country Club, or as they would like to say in Brookline, the Country Club.
Country Club, yes.
But that's a USGA, that's the United States Golf Association, so anyone can go and play there. So some of those guys, including Phil Mickelson, will be playing there. But I know part of one of Phil's beefs is that, hey, they won't let me use my name, image, and likeness. So he wanted to
Yeah.
get his videos from winning the PGA Championship last year to use to promote this new golf league. And the PGA Tour said, we own them. So there's definitely, this is the beginning of what I'm assuming is going to be an enormous legal battle. And we're going to see who's got bigger pockets, the PGA Tour or the Saudi royal family.
Not knowing, that's a tough one, right?
Right? Like
not,
who's got, because obviously there's going to be lawsuits filed. You know what I mean? For sure.
So a couple of things about that. So the U.S. Open. So I actually, believe it or not, went to the U.S. Open in 1980. Was it 89, 1990?
And I believe it was 88 or 89 that was at the Country Club. And I went to the 10 years later, went to the Ryder Cup in 1999. So yeah.
And I worked that time. I was either an eighth grade or high school, but both years I was working at sort of the local rival, or they fancy themselves the rival anyway, to the country club, the Charles River Country Club.
Yes.
Which is only a couple miles away. But I have to say it was a pretty good take. And, I haven't been to many PGA Tour, USGA Tour events at all, but it was a pretty good take, I have to say. But it's a really, really nice country club there in Brookline. So I get a question.
Yeah, go ahead. And the country club's got, the story of Francis we met, who was a poor kid who lived across the street from the country club and won, I think it was the 1913 United States. He won the 1913 United States Open, like shocked the world, and that became this like the story in there. Yeah, he lived on the corner of Clyde Streets, which is like directly across from there, what was the 17th hole at that time. So kind of a cool story.
That's a cool story.
So, yeah.
The question I have is, so I know that the PGA Tour, it is, as you said, kill what you eat, but is that always? I mean, do they not do like, the big stars not get like some, couple shekels thrown their way?
Yeah, that's a great question. So most of these guys, as you know, you turn on, they've got look at John Daly, he's got stickers and patches over his whole body. So there is sponsors that will pay, obviously. These guys don't pay for shoes, they don't pay for clothing, none of that stuff. They're getting paid to do that. So what the PGA Tour does, if you win or if you're on a certain money list, a number, you get what's called an exemption, meaning that you're on the tour. So if you're in the top 120, I believe, in the money list, you don't have to worry about qualifying. You can show up to every single tournament. If you win a tournament, like win a major, you might be exempt for 10 years, which means you don't have to worry about, because you fall below 120, you're essentially kicked off. Right. Ricky Fowler, he does a lot of commercials. He's dropped, and he's one of the ones who is now defected. He's dropped into like the 140s. So he just had to try to qualify for the US Open. Didn't make it. But funny story. A former Patriot just tried to qualify for the United States Golf Open and did not make it either. It was shot an 11 over. And that was a former Division II college football player of the year and slot back, Danny Woodhead.
Really?
Yeah. They just did, Golf Channel just did like some documentary thing, and he was on it. Like, yeah. So,
that's pretty cool.
I mean, shooting in those conditions, shooting 10 over is unbelievable, and that in itself. I mean, it's not like you play on Sunday where your ball's in the rough, you take your club and fluff it up a little bit. No, you can't. You can't do that. So, but yeah,
that's illegal. I've never played a real round of golf.
That's kind of that's kind of what's going on in the world. I mean, that's kind of the legal what's going on. But that tournament's being played now, and the tournament rules are different. It's 3 days. You're guaranteed money. There's no cut, and they actually play, which is very unique, I think, in what's called a shotgun. So a shotgun start, if you've ever played a charity tournament, everybody starts on a different hole at 4:00, balls in the air, everyone tees off. So from a TV standpoint, that's great because you get to see everybody at the same time, in this like 4-hour window. And it makes it fairer. That's a word, more fair.
It is.
Because the course conditions are the same, right? You might have someone tee off. You could have Tiger Woods tee off in the morning, and then Phil Mickelson tee off in the afternoon. And
the wind has changed.
The wind's changed. Right. So there's been two totally different, course conditions. So that's all changed. So they have made it, just like stuff. The original XFL has changed how we watch the NFL. I mean, if people that don't know that, I mean,
sure.
with Sky cameras and all that stuff. I mean, that's a Vince McMahon creation. It's now, commonplace. So, maybe something, it's going to get uglier before it gets better, but maybe something will come.
I've heard that before.
Will come out of this. So, yeah. So that's our top of the order for today.
All right. Well, we got more top of the order. That's our
we have
top
more. That's right. There's more. There's more.
So another thing that happened recently, and I say recently because I don't remember, like it's all a blur at this point. I forget exactly what day it was, 2 days ago, whatever. But it was all over the social media world. It was all over Twitter.
Oh yes, let me pull that up there. Are we talking about the?
We're talking about
the salute.
Yes. The mighty.
Let me pull that up for everybody. And I'll share
what do they call
screen.
that? The one finger salute, right? This is
yes.
In this case, I think it was the two finger because he did it with both hands. So Jordan Beck, player for the Tennessee Volunteers, playing in a college baseball game and trying to get to the Super Region. I think this is the side to get to the Super Regionals, if I remember correctly. I just want to try to confirm that, but yes. So anyway, so they're playing Georgia Tech, and in the ninth inning, he hits a ball, a game tying double. Double. Yep. I mean, it was a well hit ball. It was big. It was clutch. They were down. So they think they went on to win the final of 9-6. But so this was a big hit. But there's lots of big hits in baseball history, and this kid,
I'm first right now. Here we go.
There it is.
Can we see this? So
NSFW.
So who is this? Who is he? So who is he giving the finger to? Because is there anyone in right center field or center field? And then if he's giving it to someone, what's the backstory behind it? Or is he just a dick?
Well, so this is the thing. I don't know. And I'm sure there is a backstory. I'm sure there is. Okay. I don't know if this
and more importantly, if you look over here, why does Angel Hernandez have 1,716 tweets that's trending?
Yeah, I
know. Go on. Sorry.
So he says his response was, I was super excited. I had a little bit of a blackout moment. I was just happy I hit a flush barrel. I didn't know if it was getting over the guy's head or not.
So we're happy now we flipped the entire free world the bird. Like you don't pump your fist, you don't do the Kirk Gibson, you now give the finger.
And what's the old saying that ignorance does not equal innocence?
Oh, that's yeah, okay, right? That right, yeah.
And so I mean, come on, dude. So anyway, so that in and of itself, all right, it's fine. It's a blackout moment, right? I doubt it, but it sparked this huge debate, which has been kind of lingering in the background a little bit from some of the baseball purists and the sort of the modernists, I guess, in baseball of the celebrating in baseball has gotten a little bit out of control, and I have to agree to an extent. Now I see both sides, because the modernists, Kevin, they go, hey, look. This is up the game, and what I'm talking about is like, watching home runs, showing up the pitcher. They stand back there, watch it, the bat flips themselves because, you can't just be like someone else. So you got to come up with your own
bat flip.
And there's like these huge flips. There was one, I remember last season, and it wasn't Major League, it was a college game where the bat flip like almost took out his teammate. He's like so fired up. And he goes, I remember. It was like wing, and just went by the guy's head.
Just went.
So
this goes back. This goes back to Mike, like everything else, right? Everybody, I just go back to my nephew is 18 years younger than I am, and I had this in my house, my parents' house had the trophy case, which had like I don't know 7, 6, right? But the trophies at that point were champion or loser, right? There was no, and he remember, and then at some point, like when he was like 7, Uncle, look here, look how many trophies I have. And I'm like, he had like 400, like because everyone gets a trophy, right? So this is the whole trophy culture. Like I was, my dad, act like you've been there before. Have respect for the game that you play. Have respect for your teammates. Have respect for the other team, right?
Yeah.
Until a time, and when you don't, and then again, the other thing's nothing's ever settled on the field nowadays. Like let's say, for instance, and we'll bring his swing up later. Joey Bats does a bat flip, but Jordan Montgomery of the New York Yankees isn't on the mound. Nolan Ryan is. Where do you think the next pitch is going? Either to Joey Bats or to someone else, right? That's Robin Ventura. He's got his Nolan Ryan shirt on, right? It's going between it's not going to go at your head, right? He's not going to throw it at your head, but it's going to go between the numbers, and
absolutely.
Just,
and it was to end that stuff. And it was, so look, so, this is, I once wondered, as I'm often want to do,
wondering, yes,
when it comes to baseball, where the whole idea of the load position started, right? And so I was talking to an old, baseball historian, the guys that like a baseball encyclopedia.
Mhm.
He's no longer with us, so God rest his soul. And I remember him telling me once, he says, I was talking about this. I said, you go from a stance, you stride, and I get the momentum, which was sort of been added, and the timing
Mhm.
of, timing the pitch was added. Where did it originate? And he says, baseball, when it first originated, was like golf, a gentleman's sport. He says that's why you saw the old wool uniforms and the
Oh yeah.
collars and those
Mhm.
things, and he says, it was ungentlemanly to stand in the box with your feet wide, like in this like barbaric stance.
Mansplaining, right? What they call
Yes, man spreading. It was like
manspreading.
vertical man spread. And so he says, you got to start with your feet together in a gentlemanly position. When the pitch was being delivered, you could get in a more athletic, barbaric position to hit. And so the point of this is, although that, it's not the 1800s anymore,
Mm.
but there, even when you and I played, Kevin, growing up, we're not that old. There's a level of sportsmanship, respect, respect for your opponents. And, even if you wanted to beat them so badly it hurt, you still had respect, because it's like, you hear two boxers talk about each other and they oftentimes admire each other. Okay, look, he's a gladiator. He's getting in the ring. He's willing to put it
Mhm.
on the line. I got all the
Yep.
respect in the world for him, even though I'm trying to take his head off. And I just feel like that's going away. I feel it's the trophy culture. And I think it's selfish. It's just, it's all about me.
Yeah. Well,
Me before
is it?
team.
But so let's. I always kind of look at the other opposite of the spectrum, right? So let's say that pitcher, whoever it was for college, right? He struck that guy out and came off the mound doing a cartwheel or
Yep.
fist pump. They'd be like, "Oh, what? This guy's an asshole," right?
Well, I agree. I
Right?
think
Like
they're in the same
every
vein.
time a pitcher yells, you hear, "Well, what kind of a jerk? Well, why can't he get it? Well, why can't he get excited if the other guy's flipping the bat, right? What doesn't it go both ways or no?
It does. It does. But I think the same people would argue that coming off the ball like this all the time. Look,
Yeah,
this is
right.
the last out of the World Series, whatever, big out. Like your emotions are going to get. I get that.
Right,
but now
course.
it's got to the point where we're almost defending some dude giving the middle finger to outfielders, guys that are just playing in a ball game. They're playing just as hard as he is. They want it just as bad as he does. And that's, as I'm saying. So when we take a stance on things that we go, hey,
but what,
look,
and then the other thing, what's the context, right? What's that guy hit a double to tie some regional game? Like, okay, it wasn't, I hate to bring up a bad subject, but it wasn't Brett Boone,
yep,
Bucky Dent, wasn't Kirk Gibson, right? I mean, those guys, those are
perfect
home runs
example.
too.
That's a perfect example.
Joe Carter,
do?
right? Joe Carter,
Yeah.
the guy, he barely, maybe he jumped around third base. He hit a home run to win the World Series.
Right.
Right.
You look at, David Ortiz has done it countless times. Right. But you bring up, Kirk Gibson. The world was watching when that happened.
Right.
I was a kid, but I remember because everybody just wanted the A's to win. They expected the A's were the favorites. Everyone wanted them to win because I had a bunch of front runner friends.
Yeah.
And so I wanted the Dodgers for that reason alone. And so I watched that, and this is what you get. That's
right.
it. 2 pumps of the fist.
Now here's a guy who could barely walk, right? Hits his home run, right? Off at the time, the best pitcher closer in baseball.
Yeah.
Right.
Dennis Eckersley. Yep. And so that's what I'm saying. So we went from that to rounding first base, giving the middle finger. And that's what I'm saying. Like, we got to be careful when it gets to, there's things that are like a little bit questionable. We go, they're just having fun. Well, okay, but it's going to keep getting worse. It's not just going to end there.
Yeah. There needs to be some sort of decorum, some sort of gentleman. Yeah.
I would love to hear people's opinions on this one, because like I said, it's pretty split. There's not a lot of gray. There's either like, hey, it's great for the game. Now, I'm not saying the middle finger. Most people disagree with that. Right. But that's what you're going to get. If you're into this, show up the other team, celebrate as much as you want, despite how it looks to your opponent and to the fans, do it. this is what you're going to get sometimes. So anyway, by the way, I don't know. I have not seen anything of him being like, suspended or anything like that. But so
Yeah,
I don't
they
even know
won't be.
that's. I don't think it's an illegal thing. All right.
So good. Good. So we're over now. We can get into our main topic here.
Nope. No,
No?
we got one more.
What's
We got
our one more?
And this is our original one, which is there's an idea out there floating around in the baseball world that the balls are dead. The baseballs are dead.
Like they're dead.
They're dead. They're not like
Oh, like we know that the Major League Baseball owns the baseballs.
Yes,
right? We
yes,
talked
they do.
about that before, right? We know that.
So I'm going to go to one of my.
So dead ball meaning like they're not traveling as far.
They're not traveling as far, and so Ballpark Pals is it's a website and a social media Twitter handle that I found. And it's really interesting. And it's interesting for many ways. Number one, it just gives tons of stats. For those that like to gamble, it will use metrics and research and analyze data and give like game simulations. So if tonight,
really
the Reds are playing the Cardinals, and they'll do a simulation game based on all the metrics and give you what they think is the outcome. So they do things like that. But one of the other things they do is really cool. To me, because I geek out on some of the metric stuff.
Yes, you do.
Is they have a daily dead ball report now.
A daily dead ball report.
I'll explain. So
love to hear that one.
So there's this idea, okay, among the the metrics and data nerds out there that say that right around mid-May, don't know exactly when, but it was almost like a light switch. It was just not a gradual thing. All of a sudden, overnight, boom.
So
the home run numbers are down.
This happened like this isn't like year to year. This happened mid-season.
This is like a month. It happened a month ago, and it was a big deal. So here's how they do it. Okay, they have actual home runs versus expected home runs. What's an expected home run? I'll tell you what an expected home run is.
I might be able to answer that one. Go ahead.
Go for it. Go ahead.
I would say something that is in some sort of exit velocity and angle range.
Bingo.
So launch angle and exit velocity. So mathematically, hit with this angle, with this speed, it should leave the ballpark.
That's correct, right? And so we have these metrics.
How about that for the physical therapist? How about that one?
Not a boy, PT guy. So because of these metrics, and they're available in every single ballpark, they all have TrackMan or Rapsodo, something set up there. It's usually TrackMan. And so every ball is measured, every throw from a base, every player that moves, but the batted balls are tracked. And so, we know, especially in an individual, and they're factoring wind, they're factoring the weather, all these things.
Yeah. Temperature, all that kind of stuff.
Yep. And so they know, and I'll give you an example. So this was back on the 4th of June. Daily dead ball report, June 4th. 28 home runs were hit versus 42.3 home runs expected. I don't know how you hit a third of a home run, but anyway, 42.3 expected. Okay.
It was Yankee Stadium short portion.
So that was a difference of 34% down. Okay. Year to date, 1,571 home runs versus 2,261.8 expected. So down 31% overall. And the most likely home run that wasn't, they usually give like a daily, like the one that was like the most glaring, was Jesus Sanchez, 5th inning double. That's what became a 5th inning double. It was 107 miles an hour at a 25-degree launch at the left center field at Lone Depot Park. So I'm really interested in this stuff, right? So I start looking into it a little bit, but there's one thing that sort of stuck out to me, and I kept looking for it, and that was one other key metric that I'll talk about all the time when it comes to batted balls. Do you remember what that one is?
The key metric that you're looking at.
That they're not including. And I looked everywhere for it, and I finally found out that they are not incorporating this. And it's a
barrel.
Spin.
Barrel. Oh, the spin. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Right. And so I can tell you.
So they're measuring the spin rate off of the bat as well as the pitcher. Because I don't think I was aware of that. I don't think I was aware.
That's
okay. So does someone hit with a higher? Oh, and let me before I ask that question.
Yep.
Does exit velocity and spin rate, how are they compared?
They're not compared.
How are they
Okay.
if you have more
Great
exit
example.
velocity, do you have more spin rate or vice versa? That's what I meant to say.
Great question. Great question. All right. So the ideal spin, it
Mm-hmm.
appears, all right, for all the research. And so just real quickly, like this is what I just had this laying around. I was not bringing this for the show, but this is this is like what a Rapsodo report will look like. Okay. So you've got all these are like, where the balls go on the fields, what kind of ball they would hit, line drive, pop up, et cetera, et cetera. You get all these sort of graphs, charts. It's amazing the amount of data you're going to get out of these. Okay. So, all right. So with all that being said, the ideal spin is somewhere in the 2000 to 2700 range of 12 to 6. If you're looking at a clock, backspin. Okay. Backspin, right? Because backspin is going to give you loft. Okay. It's going to carry. So just like a pitcher, the higher the spin rate, the less velocity it loses. Okay. It stays on plane and doesn't drop either. Remember the old rising fastball that we used to think Dwight Gooden and Roger Clemens threw?
Right. But that was just really straight.
It was straight, didn't drop like others, and it looked like
it was an optical. I remember you telling me that or explaining that to me.
And so that's all that has to do with backspin spin rate, right? So the more backspin, the more it cuts through it, it's going to defy gravity longer. Okay, so same thing when we hit. We want backspin and we want 12 to 6 and anywhere between 2,000 and 2,700 RPMs is ideal for carry. Well, why? Carry. Well, if you're at 3,000 or higher, you're starting to get too far under the ball. You're missing it. You're not barreling that ball.
So what will happen to that ball? So a 3,500. So let's say 30. It'll just go straight up in the air. Major league pop up.
Yeah, gotcha. or fly at like 3,000, 3,200. It's still a fly ball, but it's probably not going out, right? It can,
but it's okay. Gotcha.
It's going to affect your velocity. So the highest velocity you'll get, exit velocity on a ball, is if you barrel it perfectly. Now, if you do that, you're not going to get great spin because you're going to match like, right here.
Right.
You're going to get more of a knuckleball effect or very slow spin. That's going to be highest velocity. So that means the balls that hitters get out of the ballpark are typically not their highest exit velocity. Sometimes, but typically not. The majority of them are like 90% of their exit velocity max, but they missed it just enough underneath to give it good 2,000 to 2,700 RPM backspin, which is going to give it loft. And what I'll tell you, this one last point I'll make, and this is why this is so important. This is not in these numbers, because when I first started looking at this, I was like, wow, this looks like maybe there is something going on with the baseball. Like, this is really interesting until I found out that the spin wasn't incorporated.
So you would say that you can't hypothesize that the balls are dead without the spin.
There's no chance. And I'll give you an example. If we have
a good point, Michael.
Right. We have two balls hit at the same exit. Let's say let's keep it relatively round numbers. Let's say we have 110 mile an hour exit velocity. Okay. And we have 25-degree angle of launch. Okay. 25 degrees angle of launch. Both balls, same exit velocity, same launch angle. One ball has backspin in the triple digits. So, less than 1,000. The second one has 2,500 RPMs. The balls at 2,500 RPMs is going to carry potentially up to 30 feet farther, and so that's a huge deal. That's the difference between a fly out and a home and one that's 4 or 5 rows back or more into the stands. So it does have a significant effect, that backspin. In fact, when you use some of these technologies like Rapsodo, it will show you two lines. It'll have a dotted line, and that'll be where the ball should have went with your exit velocity and your launch angle, but without good backspin. And then it shows the actual flight of the ball. And so you can see, okay, because of the backspin I was able to put on that ball, that gave me another 20 feet of distance. Makes sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
So anyway, so I thought it was an interesting topic that came up because I love.
Well, we should call these guys and say, hey, might be a little flaw in your data. Let's factor it in and see if it's true or false. Maybe they didn't think about spin.
Let me see if I have. Here's one. Here's a good example. This is I'm going to try to zoom this, Kev, just so it doesn't have the kid's name. You know who it is, but this is what a Rapsodo screen would look like. Okay.
Yeah.
You can see.
Stay right there. Yep.
80 was that 85.9.
85.9.
You can see
Yeah.
the spin. Why is that? What's blocking that? There we go. You
There
can
you
see
go.
the spin on the ball. It's going to
Yep.
shoot like now. If this is live, this is a screenshot. It would be moving, but you saw this one had 1900 RPM. Not quite 12 to 6, but it was like 7 to 1, which is
So
still
that
for a
ball,
right-handed hitter.
that ball's probably gonna leave the yard or come pretty close
This one 325 feet. You can see the differences
down
in
the
the
line.
dotted line, as I told you as well. Like
Okay, so if
one
he
line that's
pulled,
dotted one.
that or had, maybe 90 miles an hour, that might leave the yard.
Correct, for
Okay.
sure, for sure.
I like
Yep,
that.
yep.
I like that.
So
Cool.
that's all I have to say about that.
Well, all right. All right.
All right. So now we get into the fun stuff.
Now the main topic. So I've got to reach out and thank our previous guest, Dr. Ed Campbell, as a chiropractor out in NorCal, California, who sent in a video of his grandson, who I believe is, man, it's going to kill me. He's 7 or 9, but let's just say he's.
If so, he's a big 7 to 9-year-old.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, he wanted us to critique his swing. So we decided that, we do a lot of stuff on the major league level. We figured that let's look at some youth film and see if we can have some things that parents could look at. So I think he's up on our screen now. Is he not, Mike?
He is indeed.
So we'll let Mike talk about this. So I'll just run this slowly a couple times, and then Mike can.
I'm going to say two things right off the top. The first is for the future, because we'd love to be able to break down more video for everybody. You always want to try to get the side facing the batter.
Yeah.
You can see obviously a lot more. This is a tougher angle to analyze from. That's the first thing. The second thing I'll say is, with that said, this kid, I don't care if he's 12, 13, is a very, very good youth swing. Very good swing for youth.
So what do you let me run? What do you like about it?
All right. So there's a few things here. So number one, posturally speaking, okay, he's not starting in a very big knees bent position. Looks like his hips are back. His knee is over the center of his foot. And so when we talk about what are the elements of a good swing for a youth player, this is sort of the things that I mean. You're not going to have everything, right? So the most important things we doing.
He's got another full. I know he missed the ball
see.
here, but here's just another swing for him. Yeah. So go ahead as you're talking.
And so you got to, without the base, Kevin talks about all the time, without the foundation, without the parking garage or the basement, nothing else is going to matter. For instance, you could have the best hand path in the world, but if you're not swinging with your legs and your core, you're never going to generate the bat speed for that hand path to really even come into play. Okay. So can you pause it, Kev, sort of when he lands his front foot?
That's a really good spot too.
Yep.
Oh, I'll just rewind it here. Sorry, modern technology here. Click, 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 click. I'm working on it.
And as Kevin's doing this, so
here it comes.
With anything, right? We want to see what's the hitter look like
there.
At good right there. So that's the load position. Once the heel is down, the front heel, okay, left heel for righties, right heel for lefties.
Yep.
Back up one frame actually. Is that when his heel dropped? You think
his heel's on? Yeah, you can see it sink a little more. But I'll go one.
Okay.
So there, his heel's still up there, and then I would say right.
Yeah.
There,
all right.
It's down.
Okay. So the frame right before this one is what you should look like with your heel down. So his hands are coming a little bit early, and his turn's coming a tiny bit early. That front heel has to be in contact with the ground. Both heels to be in contact with the ground before you begin your swing, before you begin your rotation. Okay. So that's one big one. By the way, I see that with kids all the time. Like 99 of 100 kids, their step and their swing are all sort of one motion.
Yep.
And if you look at big leaguers, it may look like one motion too, but you'll always be able to pause in a big league swing right when the heel's down, the hands are back, right? That perfect sort of load position. Think of like when a hitter is ready to hit, but takes the pitch for a ball. That's what they'll look like, right?
So now what I hear you saying, Michael, is that it's hitting's a two-footed sport here, because
Indeed, it is.
there are some in the HLP world that will say it's a one-legged. You only hit off one leg
right
to hit.
Right, which is a physical impossibility, really.
I thought so too. So, from my standpoint, as we can at that same position, let's back him up here. When he puts that heel down, he's still really into that glute, especially on the front side.
Yep.
You can see the ripple of his uniform trousers here. Like he's trousers. When was the last time you used that word? Right. Sorry,
slacks.
The slack, his uniform pants. All right, so the slack. So he's really into that, and you can see how he is. Love the fact that his arms aren't flying like a bird; they're into his side, and to Ed, his grandfather's praise here. He's been working with him. He's been doing this young kid's been doing squats. He's been doing scapular depression exercises, and I would. So if you're looking at this, is this so as far as a youth swing, Mike? Is this average, above average? Is it where does it fall in the frame of what you think? Where is it?
It's like I opened with, even if he's 12, because you say we're not sure of his age. And I can say he's not 7 because it's typically not at kid at that young, but it's a well above average swing for a youth. Now, there's a couple things, so we talked about the load position. The next part is initial movement. Initial movement is why is that important? Is because okay, what do you actually swing the bat with? And he's doing a very good job from what we can see. And like I said, it's better to get the front side on this, but from what we can see, he's turning, Kevin, before he's he's really using his hands. For being nitpicky, his front shoulder's shrugging up a little bit. But again, you see that even with high school varsity players and even collegiate players. So, that's just something that hitters battle sort of constantly. But when his foot is down, his knee stays inside of his foot the whole time. He doesn't cast his hands back. He's keeping them in close, as you said, and he's doing at least the part of his swing from load to contact with his lower half, and that's all I really want to see for a youth player. Now you can see his hand path here. Again, just for the actual critique for Ed, he's not, because of his front shoulder, he's not able to really pull his bottom hand up and through, and he's rolling his wrists. And that's
you can see that right here.
Yeah. So his swing is finishing lower than would want it. We want to finish up above the shoulder. But that again, that's a whole next level for a youth player, for a hitter in general. So I wouldn't even care about that. The fact that he's rotating, you can see right there. Yeah, you can see the bottom hand's doing more of this.
Yeah, it seems like the lower body and the hands are not quite in timing, because in this spot looks like he just waved at it right at the last, right at the end. Like he was real good till the end. It was just a wave because he wasn't in timing.
Correct. Exactly it. And and this is partly why we oftentimes we train and see, it's hard to see how far his hips turned right there. You can see if the front view, because you can see where his belt buckle is. But a very good youth swing. Very good youth swing. I mean, I'd be satisfied with that swing. And again, this takes years to develop. But if we're going to
pull up another one while we're
looking
talking
for advice, we'll start to work on the hands and making sure the bottom hand. Hold on, before you do that, because just I can see the screen for a sec. Yeah, you want to have this with the bottom hand coming through rather than this. And that's what we saw a little bit in that swing. But again, very common things. They're super common. You're not going to see many youth players that have a good bottom hand extension.
Right. Let's see here. Well, while we'll go back to hitting here. Let's see. So now we've got a high school player. It's a little from the back, backside, but we'll.
Yep, I know this guy, so I can break it down.
And then we'll do the same thing, pitching with him as well. So let me share my screen.
I know that dude.
How many people haven't seen that movie?
Oh my God.
It's like, if you haven't seen that, it's like that movie, old school. Like if you haven't seen it. So he's a high school player, but I should say he's a
collegiate player as well.
Collegiate player, right?
Oh, officially now.
And this can't move that thing out of the way. He's coming off of ankle reconstruction here, and I was working with him, but
might be able to make the screen bigger. and that'll probably bring it down lower. No,
You
if you
think
just
so?
kind of you do a
Click on
little
that
one of
thing.
these.
Let me.
Oh, you're on a PC, right?
Yeah, I'm on a Mac. I don't know why it's not doing it. Let me run. I'll just keep running this. But
yeah, that's fine, because what we're going to talk about for him anyway is, so this is a well-known player of mine, and this is a good video to actually work from, because this is a player who came back from an injury that kept him out of training for what, 6 months, Kevin?
Minimum. Yep.
Yeah, minimum of 6 months.
Yeah. So October. So October, November, December. Yeah, about 6 months. Yep.
Yeah. So now you can see here that one of the very first things, and again, it's from the back, but I can tell you this because I know this hitter, the front shoulder is
You can see it. You can see it lift. You can start to fly away. That's almost. I'd almost say, Michael, that's his first. Like, there's a little sway forward.
Yep.
A touch,
That's
and
the pull.
And then his next move is to abduct and then lower body turns. Right?
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. And so what happens? You can see the left shoulder shrugs up. He's a right-handed hitter. The left elbow comes up. Right. So that's where the shrug comes from. Drops the hands a little bit. His hands are still in a very good position. If you can pause, right, kind of one back right there, like, yep. And then when Kevin goes to the next phase, there you go. Look at that. So his top hand is in a great position to extend and punch through. It's not trapped underneath his wrist. It's not ahead of his wrist. So, and this player does, I almost said his name. This player really does have excellent barrel skills. So even when his swing is not perfect,
right,
still hitting the ball, he's still getting on base.
So let me ask you this question. In a split second, right? So obviously the move should have come from the belly button. It didn't. We've got an abducted shoulder, right? So from this here, right? Here, this could be your, end of the year essay question, right? So from this swing fault here, you're going to say he's real good right there.
Yeah.
So what was the compensatory movements that got him to there? And did those movements cause his bat to be slower, or what would it cause over time would be the fault, right?
Sure. So
that makes sense?
Yeah. And I think I know the answer. I think the answer is that. So one of the things he was able to do while he was injured, because he was dealing with an ankle injury, was work on his hand path, and particularly his top hand. So the compensatory motion is, as this is coming up, what can happen is the back elbow just drops right along with it, and you get in a really bad spot. He's not allowing that to happen. So while this is coming up a little bit, his back elbow, the top elbow of his top hand, is staying behind his fist, so he can deliver the barrel in the zone at the right time and then deliver it. So you see here, there's a little barrel lag right there. So if his front elbow were down, there'd be less barrel lag and he'd be in the zone quicker. But once he is in the zone, he's staying through it really well because of the position of his top hand and the extension of his top hand. But yeah, I mean, and his bottom hand pulls even pretty good here. But if you were able to keep his front elbow down a little bit more, he'd be able to even kind of stay longer behind the ball. But you can see, this is for people watching. Watch where his hands finish at the end of his swing.
Okay. Oh, high, very
high and over his shoulder. So that's not something like you don't want to tell a kid that, because they're going to swing and then go and throw their hands up there. But that's something, if you're coaching a kid,
there you go.
You can look for there right now.
Now we're cooking with oil. Okay, now we see what we want to do here. All right. So now we can actually look at his feet, which is kind of important too. So especially his bad ankle. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So
just to finish the hand thing, right? So, but if you see the hands finish above the shoulder, the hand path was pretty good. If their hands are finishing shoulder level or below, that they're actually, the barrel path is in a circular, sort of in a circular direction, a circular path, and that's not ideal. So good extension right there. See that?
Good extension. Very good. And I wouldn't mind seeing, this belly button arguably is pointed at Mike Callaway. I'd like to see it over here in my office somewhere, but
I agree.
That's good there.
And that's one of the things that he's been working on, and he actually had it down pretty effectively last summer.
Right before he
tore it up
his ankle. Yeah. So let me. All right. So fill up some time here while I find. So there's video. So
so I'm going to keep talking about
also pitches.
Yeah. So while he's pulling that up, so I can tell you, coached him last summer and had a monster year. And I think 4 home runs, boatload of double. I mean, he's like a doubles machine. Like I say, he's really good barrel skills. Part of the reason he has such good barrel skills is his barrel's in the zone a long time. So his timing can be a tiny bit off, a tiny bit early, tiny bit late, and he's still going to barrel that ball. If we're swinging in a circle, right? Like if
That's a good point, that he can still,
yeah,
because so many other things are going right, he can still be wrong, but be right.
That's correct. And then when he's really using his legs and his core to initiate the swing, and then the hand path is really just the steering wheel of his swing, that's what you get last summer. And he just, just crushing the ball all over the place. Deep fly balls, home runs, etc.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Let's share my screen here. Are we still sharing or no?
I don't see anything.
Okay, hold on. There we go.
Still not here. There it is.
I gotcha. All right. So same kid. Obviously, the weather's changed a little bit.
Same dude.
Same dude. So this is the first time, throwing off flat ground, but great position here. I have all my pitchers throw out of the stretch because the windup is
Why
just
not?
extra parts, right?
Mhm.
And this is what we want.
Knock you off balance too.
Yeah, we want to be in this. I mean, look at this. Knees, tibia straight up and down in relation to the toe, right? Obviously, it's a little forward because the hips are cocked back. He's got a hoodie on, but I wouldn't, the shoulders, the traps could be reduced a little bit. But for me, timing is the front leg, right? That seems to be everyone's timing. What I mean by that is the crucial move is the first one. So when he lifts that leg up, Mikey, I want that movement to come right from the hip flexor or closest to the spine, the proximal to distal.
You don't want it to be a push from the front foot.
No, right. And you'll see it. You can tell. So when he lifts it up, boom, you can see. I mean, watch the little keychain he's got there. Boom, and it comes right up. Now, how did I know that he lifted from the hip flexor? Look at the foot. If you lift from your knee, your anterior tib muscle will also contract, and it will pull your foot up into dorsiflexion. So I know that he lifted this from his hip flexor because his foot is just flopping. And he went straight up, and that changed nothing. If you look at his back leg, it changed nothing. He's in the same spot, right? This is what I try to tell kids. Squat, lunge, this position. I call the crane, the Karate Kid position. It's all the same movement, right? So if I Photoshop his back leg out, his front leg's in a squat. Right. I mean, that's what you gotta kind of do. So next move from here, and these of the two biggies, is what happens from the next two moves. Now here we want the body to stay in this position as the front leg comes down and out, not thrusting forward. Thrusting forward is a teach. Okay, people do that, and then you're caught in no man's land, in which I'll explain later. So we want that leg to come as much as we can down. See how, and watch as he's coming down, he's sinking that back leg or dropping and driving. Obviously, you're going to translate forward because you're going down a mound, but not that the whole center of gravity moves forward. So that leg starts straight down until it hits the floor. And once that hits the floor, now we hate this position here. Okay. So we hate this T position, which this is the first time I saw him throw. By
the way, that's a way better than when
before. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is one thing I saw and says, no. But again, I like sport to be broken down into simplicity, right? So as he lands, so let's just Photoshop his head, although he's a handsome devil. We'll Photoshop this out, and oh my God, what's his lower body in? Oh yeah, it's in a squat, right? It's a functional movement. He's landed in a functional movement where right now, if I snap my fingers, he can do another movement. He can kick someone in the face. He can run away. He's in a functional movement. Right.
Yep.
So now here's the big thing of what everyone talks about, the hip to shoulder separation. So we want the first move, like any rotary sport, anything on the planet, the first move to come from the belly button and turn. What is being taught now is we turn here, but we anchor this back leg to the rubber. That causes torque and undue stress on the elbow. When this turns, this back leg has to come forward, so the body is turning and ending up in the finish, essentially another squat, right? There may be a point when he's in a lunge right here for 1/10 of a second.
Yep.
But as he comes forward, so I go forward here, we want him to end up in a squat. So his leg, the second thing, although he's bringing it forward, you'll see here he stopped rotating his hips, right? And that because of how far the arm is behind him, going back up here, as he turned down, when he starts to go home, boy, the technical difficulties here with this. There we go, right. So he's letting the ball go last, which is great. So there's not as much stress on his elbow, right? He doesn't let it go till there, but his belly button is here. So what we worked on was getting that back leg and belly button to, because I don't like this position here, right? Even though his toe is starting to come off and he's not getting as much torque on that elbow, we want front leg and back leg to be in the same position here. We want that front leg to come forward and him throw straight downhill. So that's what we worked on, was getting rid of what I call alphabet soup, turning the hips more, and then back leg coming down. So his back leg is almost here as he's throwing. So he's a little late. Now, I believe this pitch is probably still in the mid-80s because the kid throws gas, right? So this is a guy who I would say could probably get it up close to 90 consistently with just a couple of mechanical changes and safe changes to keep his arm safe, right? That's what the biggest thing is.
And here's another note to take on this too is so excellent athlete. He's just a really good athlete. He's he's an even better kid. He's a great kid. Great leader, great teammate. He's like,
I'm gonna show you what kind of an athlete he is in a second. Go ahead.
He's top 3 best teammates I've ever coached. I mean, he's that good, and he's just a hell of a baseball player. He really is. Like defensively, he's unreal. He's a shortstop. Probably the best shortstop I've ever had in my program. Not probably, he is. And so, but I got him when he was 15, came to the program. Yep. And so that goes to show you. So the longer you wait to start learning the proper mechanics, the harder it is to really get. Now, this kid is like a workaholic. He's gonna. There were times you would be in the facility, Kevin, 6 days in a week. I mean, that wasn't rare at all.
Really?
Yeah, and he would work, and he's one of those kids where you got to like make them take breaks. Like, hey, buddy, like don't let this be your life. Like, go to take off, go do something. But he really worked on his arm path. And when we first met him, he was like his elbows almost touched together behind his back. But it takes a bit to get it out, especially the older you are, because that muscle memory is so firmly ingrained.
So here's an athlete. Okay. Oh, you don't need to hear my same guy, right? This is pre-ankle, but look at the explosiveness. And everyone talks about athletes now about going fast. Great, we can go fast, but the most important thing is we have to be able to stop. And look at how smooth this movement is. Yeah. So this kid is he's a world-class athlete. If he's 6'4", right?
He's an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, or he's playing in Major League Baseball. Look at the. It's just this is just nothing for him, right? World class movements. Look at this. Yep. Boom, perfect. Yep. Those are perfect moves. So that's the kind of athlete he is, and he would, he's going to be, as easy to train, easy to instruct, because not only one is he good athletic, but he's also a student of his athleticism, which is key to coaching. He wants to get better. He wants to learn more.
He wants to get better. Wants to learn the right way. And I tell you, another thing he's become very good at is coaching. He helps sometimes, especially before his ankle, come and help teach some of the younger kids in the program. And, the kids all love him. They look up to him, but he's a collegiate baseball player officially. He just played his last varsity baseball game a few days ago. And so I'm excited to watch him and to see what he does in college. So they have a good one. So anyway, the last thing I'll say is going back to the elements of the youth, right? So, when we're looking at high school athletes, obviously we're looking for more things than what we are for a kid who's 11, 12 years old, and understanding that to get a kid, even just to turn his back leg and his hip may take months. If it takes, say 6 months for an 11-year-old player to do it, it's probably going to take a year to a year and a half for a 16-year-old player to do it. Again, it's just how many times did that player swing before you ever even met them or looked at their swing, right? That muscle memory is strong. That the good news is once they learn the right way, that's just going to be the way they move. That's the good news.
And that's a great point. I mean, you heard me talk about movements, squat, lunge, crane, and we're talking about the pitching movement. Get the basics down for your kid, right? Don't look at your trainer. Oh, they're doing these fancy things. Look at they're doing this thing and they're throwing this thing and they're flipping up this thing. I did a post this week about, Olympic lifting. Huge proponent of Olympic lifting.
Sure.
No person has ever come into my office ever and said, I squat 300 pounds and it's a good squat and their back is hurt, right? Yeah. Like they're hurt because the movement's wrong and they're adding all this weight to it. If you master the fundamental movements, I mean, I just took this kid, Alex Kranzler, who somehow got screwed out of the Gatorade Player of the Year in New Jersey because he's 11-0 with a 0.6 ERA. 0.6, and somehow some two-way player who was 4-2 with a 2+ ERA got Player of the Year. But besides that, we went from 87 to 94, doing scapular depression, squats, lunges, basic movements. He was doing all this Olympic lifting. Stop all this stuff. Let's get back to basic movements. Because the other thing, the body, when your body's in some stage of repair, like he was having some front shoulder issues, I found out how much bench press he's did. No, dude, just these movements, and boom.
I wasn't ignoring you there, Kevin. I was looking for a prop.
You have a prop?
I have a prop.
You have lots of props.
Hold on,
I'll keep talking while you look for your prop. So
yeah, I just want to get to
parents, have your kids do the basic movements, squats, lunges, rotational, easy rotational movements, because that's what base of any sport. Find me a sport that doesn't have a squat, a lunge, a scapular depression, and a rotation of the spine as its main component. There's none. All of them do. Yep. One smartass one time said, "What about swimming?" I said, "Well, how do you get into the pool? How do you push off the wall? And when you swim, you're turning your spine."
Nope. I get the same thing. I get the little swimming. So I just go, with the exception of swimming, you're literally in a different state, right? In a state of gas, air, whatever. All right. So I found my prop.
Okay. What do we got?
Yes.
That's a baseball.
It is. And you can see if it can focus.
Back up. Right there. Stop. 4 to hair.
Ounces.
5 ounces. 9 inches, 5 ounces. Yes.
You don't need to be a He-Man to throw this. And a bat, is typically 30 ounces. Not a whole lot heavier. And so it's more about, like Kevin was talking about, it's about the functional strength, being able to move your body properly, the way it's supposed to move, and having the bigger muscles carry the workload and let the smaller muscles go along.
Yep.
That's all we're doing here. That's all we're talking about. So we sometimes maybe it sounds fancy when I start getting into the hitting. I don't do it intentionally. But at the end of the day, it's really just about the postural stuff that, Kevin talks about all the time. And I back him up with, the postural position, staying in that postural position and using the big muscles first and letting the hands, and then the rest is it's icing, right? If you're 13 years old and you're swinging with your legs and you can keep your barrel in the zone for a foot, that's amazing. That's amazing, right? You don't need that yet, right? And I'm not that's not needed. Like if If you got a kid that is using his trunk and rotating with his core, sure, get on to the next thing. But I would urge you to not be working on any of this other stuff until at a minimum, they can get to a load position in a perfect squat with their hips back, their butt down, their heels down, and then turn their belly button and buckle to the pitcher before their shoulders.
That's it.
And you got to win. If you can do that, you got to win for a youth player.
And you mentioned one word, posture. Check out my blog at perfectmotionsportstherapy.com. I did a blog this week on what's called active posture. Everyone talks about posture like I'm going to sit up and walk tall. Well, we're not sitting up and walking tall all day. We're doing activities because the body's moving. What does our posture look like when we're pitching? What does it look like when we're at the plate? What does it look like running around the golf course? What does it look like when we're gardening? The spine has 3 curves for a reason. It's got an unbelievable the ability to, bear weight and move and rotate. And we want to keep that posture no matter what we're doing. And when you improve posture, I just find it's a chain reaction of functional improvement. It's like fix the posture, boom, a bunch of really good things happen afterwards. So
agreed.
So what's up for the weekend? What do we got? We got baseball. What do we got?
Lots of stuff going on. We have a softball tournament in the great state of Rhode Island.
Oh boy.
We have some 14U local playoffs, travel ball, but to the league of this travel ball. It's got some playoffs. So yeah, I think we've got in total, we probably got 14, 16 games going on over the weekend. Yeah.
I'm trying to weasel my way into some tickets for tomorrow. Game 4. I don't know if that's going to happen.
That's right. Our Boston Celtics. We didn't even talk about that on top of the order.
I know. I know. And then I've got my daughter just got rained out tonight, so they have a bribe game. So the bribe. It's a great question. So that's a doubleheader beginning at 9 on Saturday, followed by ice cream at the end. So 2 games. The bribe, ice cream. But it's not for the parents, right? So,
Okay.
So then, then I got some other stuff going on. But yeah, that's my weekend.
Do you have to bribe kids to play sports?
Well, here's what it is, because you can check off the parent, like go or no go, right?
Right.
So the bribe is really bribing the kid to make sure the parent checks will be there.
Sure.
That's what that is, right? Even if it's on, that's the bribe.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
Or coercion, collusion, whatever we're going to call it. But yeah, it's one of those words.
Okay.
So
first I've heard of it, but
yeah. Well, yeah, just you might not know because you're on the end of scheduling the game.
Yes.
So yeah, you don't necessarily, so you don't. But you could,
we never called it a bribe. Yeah.
But it's incentive. We can call it. Yeah.
I mean, hey, when you were,
or are you just too cheap? Are you just too cheap not taking your kids to Dairy Queen?
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, they're paying for the ice cream.
I think so. Yeah, the coach is paying for the ice cream. Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Yeah, I just read. Yeah, I just
go to JP Licks then, or something, please.
I know. Well, no. So one of the guys who's in the league owns a ice cream shop. So I think it's probably reduced for. Yeah, it's like So
it's a marketing opportunity.
Yeah, it's something like that. But that's my weekend. So yeah. Well,
have fun.
All right, bro. Well, hey guys, thanks for listening again. Please subscribe to the show on YouTube. We appreciate that.
Yes.
Anyone needs, and thank you, good doctor, for sending in your grandson. If anyone else wants film that we can certainly critique, send it to us at info@proveitlive.com. We'll do our best to put it up. And again, when we talk about critiquing film, just for the crazy people out there, we are not criticizing the child ever. We're talking about movements that should be there. It's not the kids. We're trying to get people better. In order to get someone better, you have to point out some things that are wrong.
Right. Only way to do it.
It's okay to be wrong and fix it. All right. So, all right, that's it. Go Celtics.